Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready to go racing once again in the 2024 Ginetta Junior official eSeries, brought to you, of course, by Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing. My name is Zach Sweeney. As always, it's Jude Peters alongside me in the commentary box, with Tom O'Farrell behind the scenes, pushing the buttons, making the broadcast look lovely and pretty. Of course, Mick Sutton, the man behind it all, as our series organizer here at PASR, and Jordan Taylor, who's had a lazy last couple of weeks as our safety car driver. Be interesting to see if we'll need him today as we head to the home of British motorsport. Of course, we're here at Silverstone. We're not taking to the full Grand Prix layout, we're taking to the slightly shorter national layout. And what that means is that we start on the old pit straight into Copse, through Maggots, we go back round on to the Wellington Straight, through Brooklands, Luffield, Woodcote, and that is the lap. Very short, very straight line bias, a lot of slipstream is in effect potentially today. Of course, as you can see, we've ticked off 4 rounds. We're heading into the final 3 before in a couple of weeks' time we head to Brands Hatch GP. And then, of course, Alton Park Island to round it off on the 3rd of October, just 10 days before our championship winner will claim their prize and participate for the chance to compete in the 2025 Ginetta GT Academy Championship. Of course, they get their free entry to the Ginetta Scholarship. Second place gets themselves 3 hours in the Ginetta Simulator, runners-up in the championship, and then P3 get themselves a nice upgrade to their sim rig with a 34-inch Samsung G5 gaming monitor. Of course, we've ticked off 4 driver of the rounds. They've each gotten themselves a pair of 3M UK sim gloves, again, to add to the quality of their immersive experience in the sims. And then, of course, any driver that competes at 100% of the season gets themselves a lovely PASR cap as well to round off what hopefully would have been a successful season for them. Of course, we've gone through most of the pre-show stuff. We can talk now with one Mr. Jude Peters, who is a driver that's raced here at real life. He is our main man. Of course, there you can see the championship. And Jude's last couple of rounds, it's been Gabriel Norse and Gabriel Norse's breeding ground only. He has taken the last 4 wins, 5 consecutive podiums. I mean, what can anyone do to stop him?
Yeah, I mean, he's been driving really, really well. And he's had, obviously, as we can see from that, some very, very positive rounds, taking the last 4 victories. So I think, especially around here, it's going to be, looking to keep on the slipstream, because as long as you keep on the person in front of you, it's unlikely that they'll be able to get away with it being such a slipstream heavy track. It's going to be difficult for anybody to pull away. So I think this is one of the rounds that maybe Gabriel can be stopped, so to say.
Well, we'll see. Of course, practice times coming in. Gabriel Norse only 3rd quickest. So we will see. Of course, it's very, very close in that fight amongst the top 3. Remember, of course, that's the one that gets you the prizes. P2 gets themselves that 3 hours in the Ginetta Simulator, as well as the factory tour. Right now, Logan McAllister seems to be comfortable for that. But Will Clark, off the back again, as just being one of the most consistent drivers in this championship, sits just 9 points back. So might well be able to see him. Nathan Snaith as well, taking a win and a couple of podiums this season. Could well be within a shout for it as well. But again, all to be answered as we firmly head into the second half of this season. They're working their way into qualifying at the moment. Of course, they get themselves 15 minutes to do so. We're going to jump in for the final 9 minutes and 10 seconds. And unsurprisingly, considering there's only 4 actual corners, the gap at the front is very tight. What I do find interesting is that Gabriel Norse is a 1/4 of a second back. Now, we were saying before the broadcast, weren't we, Jude, in the sense that a 1/4 of a second around a circuit like this is a lot of time to find.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, realistically, I would say there's only 3 corners. I mean, yes, there are 4, but there's 3 complexes of corners, and you then get onto the straights, and the straights are very important to get a brilliant exit because of how few corners there are. And for 1/4 of a second in 3/4 corners is a decent bit of time to find. The margins in real life are incredibly close around here, and yeah, I mean, the time really does add up. So I'd say 3/10 around here might be closer to 6-7 around a more normal track. And Gabriel has typically been, quite easily, well, in the last couple of races, been able to gap the field and pull away. So it's interesting to not see him on pole, and actually Isha Nija on pole, provisional pole, is a new thing to see. So yeah, I think it's going to be very mixed up around here, and I think it's going to be whoever can really put together that perfect lap around here, just set up those 3 corners perfectly and get brilliant exits, and potentially a slipstream is who we're going to likely see on pole.
Gabriel North, speaking of him and sort of talking him, is to say, oh, he's a quarter of a second off, it's the end of the world. Nah, he just responds, puts it within half a tenth of provisional pole position. Of course, the top three separated, as you can see, by half a tenth apiece. That's going to be interesting as we head into the racing. But you're right, it takes not much to find lap time. I mean, when it comes to the straights, getting that exit, as you say, that slipstream probably is going to have a huge factor at something, a circuit, you know, there's this predominantly straight line speed. And I think that's where we're going to come into it in regards to qualifying maybe not being the most important thing this evening because of that slipstream. You probably very easily, even if you are a tenth or two off the pace, still probably fairly comfortably be able to run with a pack in front.
Yeah, for sure. It's just all about keeping that gap closed. I mean, so as long as you're kind of within, I'd say probably half a second to a second of the person in front of you, you'll be able to catch straight up to the back of them. So especially in quali, as I was saying, it's super important to get that toe if you can, because it can be worth, not a massive amount compared to, say, Snetterton, but relatively it's massive. So, getting that toe is so important. And because the margins are so close, half a tenth here and there, even just hooking up one corner slightly better or a toe for an extra 10 meters down the straight is what could move you between first and third, which is exactly what Gabriel Norris is needing at the minute. He's 400ths off, and to get that pole, he just needs to hook up half of a corner a tiny bit better, or as I say, like 10 meters of toe down a straight. So I think the racing is going to be really interesting.
I suppose the good thing about a circuit this small as well is the outlap isn't very long. Conversely with that, the inlap as well, as you're sort of not allowed to immediately escape back to the pit lane as such. Will that have an effect maybe with drivers doing a lap or two, then coming in, getting some fresh tyres and doing just a short outlap? Because the punishment for doing it is a lot slimmer. Back at Snetterton, when it's upwards of a 2-minute lap, and you've only got 15 minutes in qualifying, you can't really afford to do that. Whereas it here, I mean, you're not really punished for it. We're going to have a lot of laps coming in because of how short the track is. Is that maybe something the drivers would consider? Is it something you'd consider?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a good idea. I mean, around here, it's I don't know how it is in the sim with the tyres. I haven't done, I have done a decent bit of driving in these cars, but more so just practice. So I'm not sure about complete optimal pacing them with the tyres. I mean, in real life, we only get 3 laps, so we're not really allowed to come in. It's only if you've got a problem. But in this, I mean, it might be worth, depending on how good those initial tyres are and the initial bite from the tyres, it might well be worth coming in, because a lap is 1 minute and 10 seconds, and they've got 15 minutes for qualifying. So it's half the lap that Snetterton was. So you're not really going to be punished for those in-laps, like you say. So yeah, definitely that's something that the drivers will want to consider, and potentially just for fuel reasons as well, to have less fuel on their actual push laps. So that's definitely something that, they'll be considering.
I think so. On board with Ishan Nija. Let's see if we can sort of stay on board with him for the entire lap. This is that run through Maggots, and arguably maybe one of the most important corners on the circuit. The exit from here is vital. Getting that power down, especially in these lower power Ginetta Junior cars. Of course, the older ones, I suppose, maybe you could put it, the slightly faster ones, maybe not as big of a problem, but only a 1.2 litre engine, probably not making too much horsepower at all to the rear wheels. You need that exit. Of course, Brooklands, it's one of the most fun corners, one of the most satisfying corners to hook up. Then as you run your way into Luffield as well, and again through here, it's just trying to pitch maybe more for the exit, but I suppose even in this cars as well, trying to minimize the distance. And that's what I love about Brooklands and Luffield, is that there are a fair few different lines that you can take. All of them seem to work. Gabriel Norse, by the way, has just gotten himself to a 10.882, over a tenth of a second quicker than Isha Nija, who, as things stand, is struggling to improve. So even though that looked to be a tidy lap, it was 2/10 off the pace.
Yeah, that's the thing around here. It's such small margins that even a lap that looks good might not be, as we see Harry Power going for a little bit of a spin there. But yeah, I mean, even if you think, oh yeah, that felt like a great lap, you might not be able to tell that you lost half a tenth in one corner because it's such a small amount. I mean, sometimes you can massively feel it, but other times it might feel fairly hooked up and it wasn't. And it might be that Gabriel's found a slightly unusual line or a slightly different place to get on power, and he's just found a couple of hundredths in each corner, and that would have put him on pole by a tenth. So Ginetta could be scratching his head a little bit now, trying to figure out where that time is, because going from I think it was about a few hundredths off to now being a tenth up is definitely quite a big gap around here. So I'm sure the other drivers will be trying to figure out where that time is now and potentially trying some interesting lines now.
See if Will Clark can do it. You can see Purple to the first sector, quickest of anyone, currently 2/10 down. He goes up to P2. That is how, I suppose, easy it can be. Now less than a tenth of a second off pole position. Will Clark searching for that maiden victory this season. He's boasted plenty of podium finishes. He's finished on the podium all but 2 races, which unfortunately came last time at Snetterton, which, God forbid, he was P4 instead of P3. I mean, he didn't still do a terrible job, but searching, as I say, for that maiden victory. And I think today, probably going to be his best chance. And he's sort of that dark horse, I think, for the championship. We've been tipping it as this battle between Norse and McAllister, but Will Clark is there, and he is a threat. And if he continues to put in these consistent results, come Alton Park, I think we still could have 3 drivers. Realistic, I know mathematically they all still can win it, but realistically still have 3 drivers in contention.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Will Clark is, I believe, 37 points off of leading, and that's, if the leader has a DNF and he wins, for example, that drops it straight down to 2 points, which, is very unlikely for someone for that extreme of a situation to happen. But, if he potentially gets a couple of wins under his belt, that gap will soon start to massively close down. And especially around here, as you say, this does seem like a great opportunity for him, because around this track it seems like there's a few more people that could potentially be right up there in the mix, because you don't have to be perfect on pace, but then if you can stay in that slipstream, you'll be able to hang on to the leader. And we say that, and Will Clark is less than a tenth of a second off the pole at the minute. And with a gap like that, I mean, he has a very strong chance to potentially win. So with that kind of result coming in, and he's had some very consistent results throughout the season so far, he's definitely not a long way off of winning this, and he's definitely not out of contention.
No, I don't think so. 20 seconds left to go in qualifying, and Ginetta shows you how not to do Brooklands. It's again one of those corners where trail braking is key, and a slight lock of any one of the 4 tyres will be disastrous, and that definitely not going to bode well for his run for pole. He's not going to get another lap. If you start your final lap before the checker flag waves, you are allowed to finish it in Assetto Corsa, but unfortunately the checker flag waves, qualifying is over. Ginetta, unfortunately for him, is only going to be 3rd, and to be fair, I say unfortunately, it's still a 2nd row start. It's not bad at all. Gabriel Norse slightly slower for the entirety of the lap, but consistently within his margins. Addison Smith 6 tenths off. Let's see if he's able to improve. Goes much quicker through the 2nd sector, but not enough to make up for what was a woeful 1st. Same to Nathan Snave. The top 3 are all finished for their session. It's Norse from Clark from Ginetta, and I think that's going to be an incredibly close battle. However, McAllister, 4th place for him, still within a shout, definitely still within touching distance, but off the back of a couple of suboptimal rounds for McAllister, not necessarily in terms of pace, but in terms of fortune and consistency. Today really needed to be a turning point. P4, 3 places behind his main championship rival, is not the place he wants to hit the ground running at Silverstone.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't seem like the best place to be, but at the same time, I don't think it is a very bad place to be, because this is, as we've been saying, a very short lap, very slipstream focused, and I think there's potential for some incidents ahead and all that kind of thing. And to be P4, he's still got that toe, and he's still not very far off the leaders. So I don't think it's a terrible place for him to be, as he can kind of sit back and kind of watch what's happening and potentially pick up some places.
Exactly that. Well, we are going to hopefully have a word with Gabriel Norse, and we do. Here he is for another pole position this season. Are you going for 6 wins in a row?
Well, that's the aim, so I'll kind of see. But my quali lap was alright. I wasn't really expecting it, because that was quicker by about 3 tenths than I've done all week. So, yeah, I was very happy with that.
Yeah, it was a sensational lap. And talk us through sort of what you expect the race to look like. in terms of the slipstream. Obviously, this circuit very straight line speed focused. Are you expecting sort of a pack, or is it you reckon it's going to be one of these races like Snetterton where you can bolt away at the front?
I'm pretty sure that everyone's just gonna stick with me, to be honest, because I mean everyone's really within about a second, so it's very close tonight. Closer than it's really ever been. So I think we will just be mostly one big pack, and it's going to be difficult, but I mean I'll give it my all.
Where are going to be the big overtaking opportunities then tonight? Is it going to be Cops, Maggots, Brooklands, Luffield? Where are the moves going to get done?
I think really just the heavy braking zones. That's where most moves happen, and so that's just kind of where you need to be looking. And that's where I'll be looking if I move down the pack.
Awesome stuff. Well, thank you very much for coming and have a chat with us. We'll let you go, get yourself prepped and ready, and best of luck for the upcoming race.
Yep, thanks lads.
Gabriel Norse, our pole sitter, ahead of race number 1 of round 5 of the 2024 Ginetta Junior official eSeries. And he just seems happy. He seems ready to go. He seems confident, as he very rightly should, off the back of 4 wins, 5 podiums for the last 5 races. I mean, Gabriel Norse is a force to be reckoned with. But something that we have touched on, Jude, he hasn't had a round where he's been off the pace, where he's been hit into, where he's struggled, similar to sort of how Logan McAllister has done at Anglesey. We haven't seen that from him yet. Obviously, law of averages and whatever probably means that at some point or another it's going to happen. And the other point of that is, how is he going to respond? Has he got the pace to work his way back through the field? And typically as well, at a circuit like this, will he be able to if he drops out of that slipstream?
I think this is probably one of the better tracks for him to do that at because of the slipstream. I mean, yeah, as you say, if he drops out the slipstream, then it'll be incredibly difficult. But if he can get back into the slipstream, then he'd be sorted. But that's obviously much harder said than, or much easier, said than done. Yeah, you're right. We haven't seen that bad round from him yet, so we have no idea how he'll respond. But at the same time, it's potentially a sign that he's just very consistent. And I know everybody does eventually have that bad round, but by having those very minimal bad rounds at least, or in his case currently none, that's a very, very positive sign for him as a driver.
Another driver that's had very minimal disappointing rounds is Will Clark, as we say, very consistent as we're running our way through the grid. I love this grid walk that we get from Tom O'Farrell. He earns his keep. Ishan Nijar from Logan McAllister is row 2, as you can see, panning round to Nathan Snaith, a race winner and a podium sitter so far this season. And of course, he'll share the 3rd row alongside Addison Smith, who was able to put in a decent lap time and good enough for pretty much just off the top 5. Behind that comes Harry Power and Samuel Chilton for the front 4 rows. And Lewis Morton Evans, as you can see, just in the background, a shot there. We'll get to him eventually. Will be our 9th and final driver to take to the grid. Of course, there you can see Jordan Taylor sat probably quite calmly in the Ginetta safety car, looking beautiful. And haven't seen him actually. When was the last time we had a safety car? Was it Donington? Did we have one at Anglesey? I don't think we did. I think the last time we saw him was Donington. He's had a very chill couple of rounds. Yeah,
it certainly seems that way. I mean, it's good because it shows that the drivers have been, very respectful of each other and quite consistent. But yeah, I mean, it definitely throws something else into the mix when we do get the safety car. And for some drivers, there's always them wanting a safety car to potentially come out. If P1 pulls away, P2 would want a safety car to come out for them to catch up. So it definitely throws something interesting into the mix, and we'll have to see if that happens around here today. But I mean, there's only a few corners. I don't want to tempt any fate, but I think it's not hugely likely for a safety car around here.
Yeah, there's no real places for there to be sort of a massive crash. Touchwood, obviously, we'll wait and see. But I think these guys should hopefully be, at the very least, on their best behaviour. We've got about a minute and a half until the red lights come on and we go green for racing. Of course, first of 2 races. After this, we'll be flipping pretty much the entire field on their head, provided they all finish, and then going again for race number 2. Hello and welcome. If you, of course, are just joining us here on the PASR YouTube channel, make sure to like, subscribe, turn the bell on for notifications to stay up to date with pretty much everything. Of course, we've got the Ginetta Junior official eSeries. We're on the third to last round of this season, where one of these young drivers could well be contending for a potential seat in the Ginetta Scholarship for 2025. And of course, we have also got other championships running. We've got the 2024 Pro Simrig Super Touring Series that's running every other Tuesday, or every few Tuesdays. There's a good set of dates ahead, and if that's something that you want to get yourself involved in, it spreads pretty much all the way into the new year actually as well. They just had their round at Silverstone last Tuesday, and what a round it was. The racing that we saw, and of course open setup, so if you like your tinkering, get yourself involved in that as well. But even if you just love jumping in and having some fun on a Assetto Corsa, PASR is the place to be with it as well. We'll jump our way straight back into the action though. We'll ground ourselves here at the Ginetta Junior official eSeries. It's Gabriel Norse, it's Will Clark on the front row. 5 red lights are on, 20 minutes on the clock here at Silverstone. Lights out and let's go racing. Great start, it must be said, from the front row for our top two, but Nija immediately having to come over and cover off Logan McAllister as he goes defensive into turn number 1. McAllister goes wide to try and sweep his way to the outside, but no way through as they negotiate their way through Cop's corner. It's Norse that leads from Will Clark. Nija now able to try and apply the pressure as they run their way into the first braking zone of the lap here in towards Beckett's. We're momentarily maybe going to look to go 4 wide as Gabriel Norse might well have to defend. What can McAllister do as he needs to ascend the order in the hope for the championship? They're single file as they run their way through the first couple of corners. Norse doing exactly what he hoped he needed to, and that was to stay in front, but Will Clark applying the pressure.
Yeah, it's a brilliant start, exactly what you would kind of expect, especially around in this circuit. You know, everyone hugging to the inside or into turn 1. And now we've got Will Clark, as you say, applying a lot of pressure here to Gabriel Norse, and we see a few moves happening further back, as that is Will Clark going very, very sideways and just about managing to hold on as he was contending for P2. Oh, and that might need a stewards inquiry. But yeah, as he was just pressuring for P2, and now I say that, and he is straight back up to P2, as that was Logan going a bit wide. So yeah, I mean, that was great for Gabriel, because he's already got a 3/10 gap, which doesn't sound like loads, but it's certainly enough around here to you know, give you a little bit of a safety margin, a little bit of a cushion. But it's definitely not over yet, as we see, you know, Will Clark and Gabriel Norse are kind of pulling away from other people, which is again nice for them, but probably not as nice for everyone behind them. But for some reason, Will Clark there has dropped back quite a lot. I'm not sure really what happened there.
Yeah, of course, that's a spin for Addison Smith, nearly into the path of Logan McAllister. It's caused absolute turmoil in the background. Harry Power and Lewis Morton Evans had to dart either side to avoid it. But McAllister, what could this mean for the championship? The last 2 rounds, he's been on the back foot compared to Gabriel Norse, and today is no different. Arguably not his fault, but he's in 5th. And he's got a lot of work to do, especially at a circuit where slipstream is key. The top 2 of Norse and Clark, though, breaking away. And we did say Clark dropped off a little bit, but I think that demonstrates the strength of the slipstream as such. Maybe a little bit of nerves coming in for Gabriel Norse as well, but that slipstream is keeping Will Clark in touch. They've got to be careful, though, because the more they battle, the more variables they bring into the mix. And by variables, I mean the likes of Ishan Nijar and Nathan Snaith, who are 3 and 4. Maybe to an extent they bring McAllister back into it. So if you're sort of Will Clark and Gabriel Norse in this situation, how much do you sit back and work together?
Yeah, I mean, it of course depends on all of these situations, but around here I think that you definitely should be trying to work together a little bit more than perhaps other tracks, because if you can get out of the tow with the driver in front of you, there's a massive amount of pressure off of you, and you can very quickly start to pull away, as we see Harry Power going for a very late move there and getting it, not quite getting it to work, and going very, very wide. But yeah, there's a huge amount of value around here in, you know, pulling away with the drivers near you to get out of the tow, mean that there's no pressure behind you, and you can start to pull away and kind of battle without it really mattering. So, I mean, yes, there is value in that, but then also, as a driver's perspective, you do definitely want to get past the guy in front of you. So it all depends on just kind of how they're thinking. But we've already seen a few times now that Will Clark has dropped back a tiny bit, but then immediately got back in the slipstream. And they do have a 1.6 second gap behind. So maybe they are deciding to work together a little bit. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens now.
The important thing for them is that they get away, because Nijar and Snaith, of course, are two drivers that definitely aren't scared to be backing down for a fight. We saw them, of course, contesting for third place last week. They shared that third place honours at Snetterton. There's no sharing it here today. It's best man takes all. That's the gap at the front, though, a little bit wide from Gabriel Norson. Will Clark looks to nip his way on the inside of that run out of Maggots, and technically Beckett's, it's I don't know, it's Beckett's, it's Beck. We'll call it half a Beckett's. It's Maggots and Beck. They're running their way down the Wellington Straight now in towards Brooklands and Luffield. Can Will Clark launch a move to the inside? If you take it very tight, you might be able to. Don't think you're on the brakes for very long. Has a slight look. Gabriel Norse has got enough to keep it covered, though, and doing so, it's actually forced Will Clark a little bit wide. And I think Gabriel Norse, he's got to be fair to him. He's actually soaking up the pressure really well. He wasn't scared into sort of defending or making a mistake there. Of course, it's early doors, but right now he's showing positive signs of just focusing on what's in front of the windscreen. He doesn't need to be focusing on the mirrors. He's driving the car as quickly as it needs to, and he's letting Will Clark sort of do what he needs to do behind. I mean, at the moment, Norse hasn't shown any cracks or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's been very impressive from him so far, you know, keeping it nice and clean off of pole and allowing Will Clark to kind of stick to him without really affecting him too much, not really being, as you say, tempted into defending. And it's working very nicely for them. I mean, it does seem like Will Clark is being quite nice, you know, not really going for too many moves that he doesn't need to, because he knows that as soon as you start defending around here and start attacking and battling, momentum is the most, I'd say this is the most important track for momentum in these cars. So as soon as you start battling, you immediately lose huge amounts of time to the people who are behind you. So you've got to be really important and time your moves very, very carefully, and time your attacking, time your defending. And it seems like, you know, they're not doing anything silly, they're not doing anything rash, and they're just keeping it nice and clean and trying to pull away from the people behind. I say that, but at the same time, Ishan Nija is doing a brilliant job, because he has already brought the gap down by about 7/10, because it was 1.7 and now, well, about 8/10, because it was 1.7 and now it's 9/10. So he's doing a brilliant job of not really letting them pull away and not really working together. So, yeah, I mean, it does look like, you know, Ishan Nija is very much not out of this. I mean, he is using a little bit of track limits, we did seem to see there.
Say a liberal view on track limits. Technically, Tom O'Farrell did say the grey bit is the track. It's grey, it's just a darker shade of grey, I suppose. Maybe that's the way he's going to argue it. I don't know. Regardless, that's not the track. It's past the curb, which again, it's the red and white bit, and for the colourblind people, it's the bit that makes the car go brr as you go over it. Anyway, this is the fight at the front. Gabriel Norse versus Will Clark. Quick reminder, in terms of the championship battle, it's Gabriel Norse that leads. He's won 4 of the last 5 races, the 5th of which, of course, he took a podium at. So he's had a really good run of form. He leads by 28 points after drop rounds. So they get 2 drop races that can be mixed and matched across rounds. His 2 worst races drops him 40 points. McAllister drops 0, so it's 206 to 178 post drop score. A 28 point gap in the championship. Gabriel Norse at the moment is first, with McAllister in 4th. So McAllister needs to climb the order. He needs to hope that Will Clark goes for moves like that to the inside of Cop's corner. Gabriel Norse sees it coming, swoops his way to the outside, runs off the road actually beyond the AstroTurf, as Aishan Nisha does exactly what he did last time by as well. Will Clark this time inherits the lead, though it's still going to be contested as they run in towards Maggots and Beckett.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's exactly what Will Clark was probably looking to do there, you know, just timing, as I was saying, timing that overtake perfectly. I have had word from race control, there's a bit of contact, that will have to be reviewed after. But yeah, I mean, it looked like he was just timing the overtake, making sure he didn't lose too much momentum. And it doesn't look like they've lost a lot of time, you know, the gap behind is still 9/10. But this battle, as you say, is very, very much not over, as Gabriel Norse goes round the outside at Brooklands. That was a brilliant move there, keeping up the minimum speed, keeping up the momentum, sailing around the outside of Will Clark. And now it's Gabriel Norse that leads, with Will Clark, though, getting that switchback, now having the inside line for Cops, potentially doing exactly the same thing as last lap.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see if he's able to replicate it. This time, though, he's got a bit more of substance behind it. He's got a little bit more of a leg on the inside. Does, of course, get the squeeze. I think maybe a little bit of door-to-door rubbing into Cop's corner. Once again, Gabriel North's not going to back down as Will Clark tries to fight to the inside as they tick off another lap. Around the outside, Will Clark gets bogged down on the inside. Has eSeries been able to get his way through? I think he might have. The 000 is up in a second. The pack behind were catching for quite some time. Logan McAllister is now in the mirrors of Will Clark. eSeries is now sandwiched between the pair of them as they exit out of Maggots and Beckett's. Look at the run from Will Clark. He looks to go to the outside, immediately darts to the inside because Gabriel Norse has opened up the gap relative to eSeries. They're going to go side by side towards Brooklands and Luffield. Inside, of course, for Will Clark as he tries to thread the needle through the middle, or does he? I don't know actually where he is on the track. Maybe a bit of ping issue. Nonetheless, Nija tries to go for the lead. Gabriel Norse thwarts it off. Will Clark tries to get himself back involved as well.
Yeah, great bit of race awareness there from eSeries, seeing the people in front just battling and then taking advantage of that. They went side by side. So he just picked his way through and got up into second, which he still holds now. But the gap between the top three is 2/10. So as they're looking to go potentially even 3 wide, but they're 2 wide at the minute, as eSeries are trying to hold it around the outside of Gabriel Norse, being escorted beyond the track limits slightly there, and he holds it. Oh, he tucks back in behind Gabriel Norse there, but now this is bringing Logan McAllister back into it, and Logan McAllister has just overtaken Will Clark back up into P3, as that's Will Clark there going very, very wide and quite deep on the brakes. But yeah, he's very much still not out of it because he's just had a great exit, still within the tow, and the top three are all battling, trying to go side by side with each other as we come now down towards Brooklands. And Gabriel Norse going defensive. eSeries trying to get towards the inside of him again, which I think he just about has, as Logan McAllister now is trying to take advantage of both of them going side by side, and he gets up the not quite getting up the inside of eSeries there, but looking to set up the exit. As he does get a good exit, will he be able to do anything with that? We'll have to see as we go down to Cops.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Of course, on the exit of Luffield, it's all about who can put their foot to the floor first. We've ticked over into the second half of this race. Have to say, I'm so impressed by McAllister. He's not given up. He's persevered through, and now he's got a good chance. I think he's trying to set up the up and under on the pair of them, take a slight idle stance through Cops, take the apex, try and get the power. At the very least, maybe try and tip eSeries, who ran wide off the exit, of course, escorts himself off the track limits. Now, of course, it's going to be McAllister on the inside. Norse is going to appreciate this little bit of breathing room that he's got. Will Clark trying to try and squirm his way back into contention, but the 95 of McAllister is back through. After all of that hard work, he's still behind his main championship rival. At the moment, it's looking good. Any one of these four can win this race.
Yeah, that's the thing with this track. It's just so unpredictable. We've got no idea who's going to win. We don't know if it's going to be Gabriel who wins or Harry Power that wins, pretty much. But we'll have to see, because as we see, it's the top four now really getting onto each other's gearboxes, as Will Clark is sitting behind after that small mistake and just looking to potentially pick up some positions and just looking to slot his way through on some of these drivers as they're starting to battle really, really hard now. We get to 8 minutes left in the race. It does seem a little bit early for them to be battling quite as hard as they are, but nevertheless it's great to watch, great to see, as we see again pretty much every lap now it's side by side through Cops. Pretty much every lap, it's one person going very wide. As we see there, predicted Will Clark goes quite wide. But it looks 3 wide as we come into Beck, as you would say. And again, we just have no idea who's going to come out leading here. Gabriel Norse, as we see eSeries there going very wide. Logan McAllister slipping up the inside there and just managing to perfectly capitalize on that mistake.
Exactly, side by side, McAllister trying to immediately pounce at the first time of asking. Norse, of course, is defensive to the inside. The sweeping nature of Brooklands, though, means the outside is possible. Let's see if the 95 can dance his way the long way through. Initially does get it, but eventually the agility of the car is going to run out. Gabriel Norse runs the car to the outside of the circuit, takes the inside for Luffield, and keeps the lead of the race. 7 minutes left to go. It's going to translate, I think, pretty much to bang on 6 more laps left to go in this race. Don't hold me on that. Never trust a commentator's math, but we will see. Gabriel Norse leads Logan McAllister, Ishan Nijar, Will Clark, and Nathan Snaith, the top 5. The only one of these drivers yet to win our PASR driver of the round is Ishan Nijar. He's definitely within a good shout of getting himself a pair of Freedom Sim UK gloves. Let's see if he's able to deliver those. Oh my goodness me, Will Clark through Cop's corner. That's not a ping issue, that is a skill issue.
Yeah, that was very, very wide there. Looked like he wanted to try and take that flat out. And he's now given Nathan Snaith the opportunity to get up into 4th. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there. It just looked like Will Clark maybe got quite over-ambitious, wanting to catch up as he's dropped out of the tow. But yeah, that was unfortunate for him as he's now lost out on a position. As we see now, though, because the top 3 have a 4.5 second gap, they're going to be showing each other absolutely no mercy. As we see Gabriel Norse going quite wide there, and Logan McAllister getting up the inside, albeit having the outside for Luffield, but he can get quite a good run here if he sets this up very nicely. I don't know what's happening for Ishan Nijar there. Is that a internet problem, or is that just...
That looks
I
to
don't
be
know.
a car problem. I've got to be honest. Nonetheless, side by side for the lead. It could well be fuel. Yeah, exactly. Maybe not done enough in the setup, and that's going to put an end to his race. 5 minutes 30 left to go. McAllister looks to the inside of Gabriel Norse through Cop's corner. Gabriel Norse once again. He's getting good at this outside move through Cop's. Keeps the position, keeps the power down, keeps it side by side as they run towards Maggots and Beck. But of course, McAllister has got the inside line by the time they reach the braking zone. Will it be enough to see the 95 through? He's not won a race since the first round back at Alton Park, since of course he took that victory in race number 2. He's not won since, and he's searching to get his way back onto the top step of the podium. It could well be now as they're side by side on this Wellington straight towards Brooklands corner. He's going to try and duck to the inside. Is there space? Not quite. Gabriel Norse able to stay ahead. They're ducking and diving, of course, searching for the slipstream. McAllister forces Norse to go semi-defensive. This time once again looks to the outside, but once again finds there's no space there.
Yeah, around the outside is always difficult. It takes a massively committed move and a lot of speed to get it to work. So yeah, not too many surprises there that he wasn't able to quite hold on to that. But he is 3/10 back. He is now in the slipstream, and we now come down to Copse, where all the overtaking has seemed to go on. And yeah, I mean, he's right on the back of him now. I'm sure we're going to see pretty much exactly the same as the last laps, which is no bad thing because they've been absolutely brilliant to watch. So as we now come through Copse, keeping it nice and tidy, slotting in, keeping behind Gabriel as we now come down towards Maggots and Beck. And he's probably going to pull out towards the inside. No, it looks like they may be working together a little bit more now. Perhaps seen some sense in working together and not battling super hard. I say that. Logan McAllister has a run on Gabriel as he tucks back in. Weaving massively down the straights now. I'm not sure what the rules are on that. But Gabriel goes to the inside, holding that inside line after a massive amount of weaving on these last 3 minutes. And Logan McAllister going for a bit of a dummy there, not quite getting it on as Gabriel Norse goes for a big slide. Logan McAllister is able to get alongside and is potentially now going to go for a run down to Copse.
What a slide that was. Car control at its finest from Gabriel Norse as McAllister gets a little bit argy-bargy on the exit of Luffield. All is fair in love and war, of course, between these two. They are absolutely smashing it. Flash the headlights from the pair of them. 3 minutes left to go as they cross the line to tick off another lap. There's a fight between Will Clark and Nathan Snaith as well for the final place on the podium. Of course, Will Clark trying to get himself back onto the top 3 places. Nathan Snaith trying to keep himself there after getting it in race 2 at Snetterton. McAllister versus Gabriel Norse, though. What this means for the championship could be pivotal for this series. They're fighting for a potential chance at a 2025 real-life racing, and it's coming down to this. McAllister searching for any gap that he can get, but Norse so far seems bulletproof.
Yeah, I mean, it's been an absolutely brilliant race to watch so far. I mean, I'd argue it's probably one of the best races we've seen so far. As we see again, Gabriel not going for quite the weave that he was before. But he is going to probably look for another move as he goes to the outside, trying to make that work again, which it didn't last time, as he's trying to find the grip, fishing for the grip, as it doesn't quite work again. I'm sure he's probably learning now that that's not quite going to be the move that's going to get him into the lead, but especially because these are the top 2 in the championship. This is a brilliant race to watch, as you say, they are fighting for a potential real-life race seat, as we can see that they're battling incredibly hard to fight for that opportunity. Again, keeping it tidy, keeping it in nice and close, not losing out on that slipstream. not going for the move into cops, as it doesn't seem to be, well, A, not close enough, and B, potentially not the easiest move to pull off. Now, moving in, holding about the same gap pretty much every lap, and then going for similar moves. So I'm expecting that we're going to see maybe Logan is trying to set up some, common occurrences for Gabriel to get comfortable with, and then go for something a little bit unique right at the end, as we're now a minute and a half away from the end. And I believe that the next lap will be the last lap, maybe the lap after. Not quite sure how it works. But again, we see them coming down for another time into Brooklands with a move setting up. Again, not quite working, but I do, as I say, I do think that this is, Logan trying to set some cues with Gabriel now, some patterns that he gets comfortable with, and then maybe Logan breaks that right at the end and goes for a move that Gabriel's not expecting.
Exactly, lead him into a false sense of security. That could be some triple-digit IQ moves from Logan McAllister if he's able to pull it off. But if he's going to pull anything off, it's got to be right now. The final lap of this race. As soon as that timer ticks 0, the checker flag will wave. Lewis Morton Evans, though, oh my word, eats the barrier on the exit of Luffield. Is that going to cost him any positions? I don't think so. But the fight at the front, of course, raging on with 30 seconds left on the clock. Gabriel Norse has led this race so far from start to finish, from pole position. He's searching for his 5th race victory in a row on what so far has been dominance defined in the 2024 Ginetta Junior official eSeries Championship. Logan McAllister, what can he throw at him for the final lap of race number 1? It's to the white line for Gabriel Norse. McAllister does not want to pull out of the slipstream at all. This is going to be his last chance saloon. Inside line maybe opens up. He decides to go to the outside. Gabriel North does not give an inch at all. Logan McAllister tries to get the power down. Is the space there? Gabriel North shuts the door, but McAllister squeezes through. They're side by side for the lead. It's going to be a case of who can put their foot to the floor first. McAllister might well be able to snatch it. It's the exit out of Luffield into Woodcote. The checker flag will wave, and our 2 championship rivals are going to do victory here. Drag race to the line, and it's going to be McAllister that might just snatch it. Half a tenth between the pair of them. It's a long run to the line. McAllister gets it the first time since Alton Park as he stood on the top step of the podium, and Gabriel Norse has to settle for second best. Nathan Snaith is able to snatch himself to 3rd place, with Will Clark once again in 4th. What a final battle that was between the pair of them. Logan McAllister, now that was a move and a half through Luffield.
Yeah, that was an absolutely brilliant move, perfectly set up. I mean, we've been seeing that he couldn't quite get that move into Brooklyn set up. Whether that was deliberate, not getting it set up there to make Gabriel think it couldn't happen, or whether it was just learning each time he tried it to understand how to do it. He just got alongside enough that Gabriel had to leave him that tiniest bit of room, and he slipped down the inside into Luffield. And then once you're on the inside into Luffield, it's a pretty easy move for him to make. And that was absolutely brilliant there, absolutely textbook from Logan McAllister to take the win by 0.03 of a second. And that was it. And now that is some important championship points for Logan, and quite a spectacular way to get them.
Yes, that's a crucial 5 points gained. All of that for 5 points. He fought that hard, and in the end it was enough to take a few off of the lead set by Gabriel Norse, who of course will have a chat to. They're piling their way into the commentary box now. We'll start with Nathan Snaith, 3rd place. Another podium to add to the tally this season. Your 2nd one in a row, of course, off the back of Snetterton. And Nijar didn't need to get unfairly disqualified for this one. All he had to do was run out of fuel instead.
Is that what happened?
I think so. That's what we were told.
Oh. I'm not gonna lie, I spent most of this race looking at my rear view scared for my life, because I'm not sure what's happening, but I think Will's connection to the server is not very good. So he's rubber banding everywhere. So I'm like, I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of an awkward affair on the form of Will Clark, but nonetheless, the pace has been there for you. What's the plan, of course, for race 2? Reverse grid, slipstream as powerful as it is, and the pack as close as it is. I mean, what's the game plan?
These cars have slipstream. I didn't know that. It never seems to work for me. I think my plan is just to not have a skill issue, if I'm being completely honest.
That would help. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, minimizing skill issues is always a good way to showcase skill. Is got to be honest. You've got a
My
very good
limited
point there.
skill.
Use what you've got, mate. I mean,
Yeah,
you've
I'm
got to
making the
win.
most of it as it.
I was going to
so
say, you got to
far.
win this season. You got two
Yeah.
more third places to add to it. You're not doing too bad, considering you're putting yourself down. So, race 2, where are you finishing?
Top 5, hopefully.
Cool. Awesome. Well, best luck for you. Find some slipstream, don't have a skill issue, and aim for a top 5.
I'll try my best, but I won't promise you anything.
Sweet, that's fine. We'll see if you're able to deliver nonetheless. Thank you very much for coming and have a chat with us. Hopefully we'll see you after race 2.
I'll try.
Working our way up the podium, and to be fair, for the majority of that race, we didn't know which way round it was going to be. Gabriel Norse, in the end, a drag race to the line. It was second place, but not by much. Talk us through your feelings for that race and how it feels to have lost it on the last lap.
Yeah, I was very annoyed at the end. I kind of just made a mistake into I think it's Luffield, and it cost me. And then I don't know what really happened. I don't know if Logan tapped me or something, but then through the second part I just had a bit of a snap, which just set me off, and then I couldn't really claw it back.
There was a lot to sort of take from that race in terms of positives, and in terms of us in the commentary box, we had a blast watching it. It was fantastic racing between the pair of you. Of course, the championship, you still remain firmly at the top, but these small sort of chips, I'm sure, is something you're going to want to avoid for the rest of the season, right?
Yeah, well, I'll kind of see how it goes. I'm still leading by quite a few points, so I'm not too worried at the moment, but I think I just need to kind of rethink how I do my races and stuff.
And into race 2, what sort of rethink are you going to be looking to apply? Is it going to be aggressive off the start? Is it going to be cautious? How are you playing race 2?
Not too sure, to be honest, but I want to get through as quickly as possible, like do what I did last week, which was very nice, going from, well, last to first on the first lap. But yeah, that's kind of just the plan.
Well, best of luck for you, of course. I mean, you've put on a show. You've ended your 4-win streak, but you've still got 6 podiums on the bounce, which I suppose is still something to write home about. Best of luck, of course, for race 2, and put on a show.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Gabriel Norse, our championship leader, P2 in race number 1. And finally, we head to Logan McAllister. And after a couple of rounds where it's been what could have been, today you executed, and it's what happened. You got the victory for race number 1, but you had to work for it.
Yes, most certainly. On the first lap, there was, I guess, an incident going through the final corner. I don't quite know what happened, but I dropped back a few positions, which was quite frustrating. But we managed to claw back the positions in time. Set the fastest lap on the end as well, so that's an extra point. But yeah, it was more just wait for the carnage to unravel, and it did. And I managed to get back up into second place. And then I just kind of played mind games with Gabriel, and on the last lap it paid off.
Was that sort of the game plan for you then, was to sort of bait him into a last lap battle? I mean, you were cutting it close. That move into Luffield was definitely a risk.
It was a risk that needed to be done for the championship. But yeah, it's just all about mind games around this circuit, especially when there's only 4 or 5 corners. Yeah, it's just putting them off their line, getting the better exit, especially with these cars. And they got not much power, so it's all about getting the exit. And I just managed to chip underneath him and claim the victory.
Now, very quickly, of course, before we let you go and get prepared for race 2, what is the game plan? You'll be starting dead last on the field. I mean, how confident are you in climbing your way back through the field? I mean, you kind of had to do it in race 1 from 5th. I mean, can you do it from 9th?
Hopefully, yes. It'll just be carving our way through the field cleanly and fairly. But yeah, we'll see what the race does, I guess, and obviously hoping for another P1.
Well, thank you very much for coming and chatting with us. Hopefully, we'll be able to have another one after race 2.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing. That's Logan McAllister, P2 in the championship, P1 in race 1, taking his second of the season and his first since all the way back at round 1. We're 43 seconds away from going green flag racing. Jude Peters, what are we expecting out of race 2? Is it the same as race 1 turned up?
I think it's going to be very, very similar. I mean, yeah, probably a little bit turned up, to be fair, because we've got obviously the, reverse grid. We've got some of the fastest drivers, the likes of Logan McAllister and Gabriel North, starting towards the back of the field. So I think it's going to be a brilliant race. I think we're going to see a lot of carving through the pack and a lot of battles.
Well, let's find out as we get ready to go racing once again. Race number 2 of the 2024 Ginetta Junior Official eSeries, round number 5 here at Silverstone. It's Harry Power, Addison Smith on pole position, lights out, we go racing, 20 more minutes back on the clock, and immediately Harry Power comes over to the inside to cover off that lead into turn number 1. Lewis Morton-Evans looks to the outside of Addison Smith, but all eyes on our front runners at the back as they try and power their way through to the front. McAllister trying to fight his way through on Gabriel Norse, who's already been able to make light work of Nathan Snaith as they run their way through towards Maggots and Beck for the first time. Harry Power potentially under pressure as Lewis Morton-Evans tries to apply some pressure. They're going too wide, multiple rows deep, it must be said, as Addison Smith is now under pressure from Samuel Chilton. Gabriel Norse looking to stay tight on that inside. He's side by side, I believe, with Will Clark as they emerge onto the Wellington Straight, and this is going to be chaos by the time they reach the brakes for Brooklands.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of drivers trying to make moves here, all within, half a second of each other. So this is going to be very interesting to see as we come now down to Brooklands. Pretty much too wide for the entire pack now as we come into Luffield again. Logan, again, same issues for him there in the exact same place on the exact same lap in race 2. So that'll be very frustrating for him. But yeah, I mean, they're all still too wide. This has been a very impressive first lap, really. I mean, it's pretty much just been formation driving. As we see now, we're coming through Woodcote, as that's Logan looking to have a bit of a wobble on. I'm not really sure what's happening with a bit of a freeze there. As we come now down towards Copse, Logan McAllister running it all the way out, using all the track possible. As we come now through Copse, using some of the track limits through turn 1, as the drivers have been told not to. Coming down now towards Maggots and Beckett's, or should I say Beck. And we've got, again, pretty much too wide formation through the whole pack. It seems that way because probably some of the fastest drivers towards the back are trying to hunt their way up to the top of the pack. So there's going to be a lot of moves happening. As we see Gabriel Norse and Logan McAllister already by lap 2 up to P2 and 3. And right on the back of the leader, half a tenth back. As we all now come down to Brooklands, looking to go 3 wide again.
We do indeed. Let's see who's going to come out on top in this one. Gabriel Norse takes the lead of the race into Brooklands and Luffield. Will Clark on the outside of Samuel Chilton as well. Let's see if the 48 can power himself to the inside of Luffield. He seems to have done so. Of course, it's a very long corner, especially in these Ginetta Junior machines, so it should well go the way of Will Clark, who at the moment is looking for his 4th consecutive 4th place. Of course, that's going to be a curse and a pattern he's going to be looking to very much put a pin in today and maybe climb his way on to the podium. Gabriel Norse from Lewis Morton-Evans, from Logan McAllister now the podium as McAllister searches for the gap on Morton-Evans to find his way through in a second. But there you can see Samuel Chilton trying to go the long way around, and Will Clark, he goes the very long way around. Isha Nijar is able to nip his way through by taking the racing line, keeping it on the track and getting his way into the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some great driving now with Gabriel Norse again getting back up to the lead, and I was going to say that that's brilliant for Norse because he's got a driver between him and Logan. But as soon as I was thinking about saying that, that has already disappeared. Logan is straight on the back of Gabriel in that tow as we come now down towards Brooklands, and they have cleared Lewis Morton-Evans. And it doesn't look like he's going to be able to respond too much to that with an already a bit of a gap forming, as Logan McAllister again doing very similar moves to race 1 actually, going to the outside, although that is new, going all the way around the outside at Luffield would be an incredibly impressive move, which he hasn't quite managed to pull off and just gets pushed wide onto the gravel hatch. I unfortunately know how that feels, and he has now lost out quite a lot of time, especially because of how little speed or power these cars have, and as soon as you go into that very, very deep gravel, you lose all your momentum, and he's already dropped back by, what would that be, probably a second now, which is very unfortunate for him. So, and he's also got another driver between them as they are, again, quite liberal on track limits. But again, great for Norse because he knows that he's he probably knows that he's quite quicker, he's a bit quicker at least than Morton Evans. I mean, he is in the tow, which might make it a bit more difficult for Norse. But there's now 2 cars between Norse and McAllister, the top 2 in the championship. As that's McAllister going for a spin. I'm not sure what happened there. I didn't quite catch that. It looked like there was some contact.
Maybe so, of course, for Logan McAllister. He's now dropped back to P9 because of it. He's at the back of the field, and the work that he did at the start of this race to climb his way through, he's got to do all over again when his main championship rival of Gabriel Norse is already in front. Was there contact through left field? Was there racing room? We will have to, of course, wait and see what the stewards decide post-race. But Will Clark is on the back of Lewis Morton Evans. He's looking to match his season best result, maybe even beat it if he's able to catch Gabriel Norse for the win. 15 minutes left to run in this race. Norse has got a second clear. This is dangerous territory if Morton Evans and Clark continue to battle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel terrible for Logan at the minute. You know, he's been showing great pace the whole season, you know, like in practice, in the races, in qualifying, he showed amazing pace, and he just seemed to have been on the receiving end of some bad luck in a lot of these races, which sounds like an excuse with a lot of bad luck, but then it was definitely bad luck. I mean, I've gotten some word that it seems to have been a bit of lag and a bit of internet connection was the problem that could have caused that spin. Which is horrible for him because he's now back in 9th, a second off of 8th, and based on some rough calculations, probably 5 or 6 seconds or more, probably more actually, off of P1, and he's second in the championship. So that is a big shame for him and quite positive for Will Clark because he's now up into second, and incredibly positive for Gabriel because he's now got a 1.5 second gap around the track that is incredibly tow focused. So he's gotten out of that tow, and now he's just in that, potentially able to get into that rhythm that he's been in for the last, or not necessarily the last race, but the 4 races before that, of just being able to get into a rhythm, pull away from the people behind, and then go on to win the race.
Exactly that. 1.6 seconds is the gap. Will Clark with no support of slipstream from sort of anyone, even sort of in the sense of a bump draft or working with a pair. He's going to find it tough to go and catch Gabriel Norse. That goes without saying. It's going to cost it's going to be a mistake that's going to cost Gabriel Norse, right? That's the only thing realistically that's going to stop him. It's going to be tough for Will Clark to close that gap on his own volition. Addison Smith versus Isha Nijar in a 4-way battle with Samuel Chilton for 4th place. This is something that Logan McAllister is looking at and probably licking his lips and rubbing his hands together at the delightful sight of 4 cars lined up for him to go and take at. But even then, 4 cars, it's not enough if they're not in front of Gabriel Norse by the end of it. Nathan Snay finds his way through on Samuel Chilton, up in a 4th place. 13 minutes left to go, and McAllister and his championship hopes are coming down. And not only that, but his championship hopes relative to Will Clark, who's up in 2nd place, coming into this round, was only 9 points behind. McAllister could be in trouble, not only for the championship win, but 2nd place as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this has been an incredibly unfortunate round for him because of that issue there. I mean, he's now back in 8th, and as you say, Will Clark really wasn't that far behind in the championship. The win in the last race will massively help him, but I mean, an 8th place is not going to help him given that Will Clark is all the way up in 2nd. But yeah, I mean, Gabriel now, 2-second gap. He seems to be building on that gap, and he's in a brilliant place to take home the victory. As we see some more battling going behind between Addison Smith and Isha Nijar there. And we seem to have a great battle though now between Logan, Isha Nijar and Addison Smith, as they're now looking to go potentially even 3 wide down into Brooklands. But I think Logan now is just thinking, this is not my fight. As we see there, Isha Nijar coming across and Addison Smith having nowhere to go, it looked like, and coming across his nose. And that is a few positions lost there, but great for Logan because he's just gained 2 places out of that. So, yeah, I mean, he's just up into 6th, which, you know, he's not going to be happy with still, but it's better than where he was. And if he can get his head down, I think there's at least 1 position maybe to gain for him. There's 3 seconds ahead of that, which would be difficult for him to catch. But we have seen that he's been brilliant at recovering from his difficult positions.
Yeah, he knows how to pick himself back up, which is, of course, a valiant trait, but the ideal situation is to not be in those situations in the first place. Of course, a large part of that is something that McAllister hasn't been able to help. He's been a passenger, particularly today at Silverstone, arguably race one at Anglesey as well. Snetterton, a little bit different. Some of that was, of course, his own mistakes, but largely this season it has just been a lot of bad luck for McAllister. But he's still been able to pick himself up, show that determination, persevere his way through a race. He doesn't give up. And that is what I respect about him most, is that he picks himself back up, gets through the field, doesn't complain or whine or anything like that, and in fact is actually motivated to send sensational moves on the brakes like that one on Samuel Chilton through Brooklands and Luffield, saw the gap, flashed the headlights, and found his way through up into the top 5, 2 seconds off Nathan Snaith for 4th, and once again it's a case of limiting the damage for Logan McAllister.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as we've seen from all of his interviews, it seems that he's a very calm character, and he's, very, as I say, very calm. And he's just able to keep his head down. He doesn't seem to let anything get to him, and he's able to pick his way up as he's gone from 9th to 5th. And whilst that is 4 positions, it's also a lot of time that he's managed to gain. So it's incredibly impressive from him. As you say, yes, he's made a couple of mistakes, but a lot of it's been bad luck. But he's always been able to recover to, limit the damage. And even with all that bad luck, coming into this round, he was still 2nd in the championship. So he's doing amazingly well. And he, of course, had the disadvantage of not being at one of the rounds, so he doesn't have any rounds that he can drop effectively because of those zeros. He's 2.8 seconds off of Snaith. I don't know how easy that's going to be to catch, especially around here. Being such a short lap, the margins are very close. We'll have to see. His determination will definitely help him. And that is a position that would massively benefit him, because every position, when you've had some bad luck, is incredibly important, especially when you're a championship leader like him. As we see at the front now, Gabriel Norse managing to hold about the same time to the people behind him, doing very similar lap times to Will Clark, holding that 2-second gap with 8 minutes to go is exactly what he'll be happy to see.
Will be indeed. 8 minutes 45 seconds left on the clock. Gabriel Norse has been dominant in race number 2, and to be honest, I'm not surprised. He's benefited off all of the carnage and chaos. To an extent, he's contributed to it as well. But from his perspective, from a driving perspective in terms of pace, he has executed it to perfection, seized any opportunity he needed to, and is now extending the gap back to Will Clark, who doesn't really have much of an answer. What could have been should Will Clark have been involved in the slipstream, but again, you can't live in the ifs, the buts, the maybes. You have to live in the absolutes, and right now it's absolutely sure that Gabriel Norse is 1.8 seconds clear of Will Clark and is definitely got no intention of slowing down by any stretch of the imagination. The question is, who's going to join the pair of them on the podium? Will it be Lewis Morton Evans for the first time this season? Will it be Nathan Snaith for the 4th time this season? Or will McAllister be able to fight his way through Snaith and then go and catch Morton Evans? Time is not of the essence though, and in sprint race formats like this, you don't have a lot of time to recover when things go wrong, and unfortunately McAllister knows that all too well. Arguably probably too much.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as we say, it's been a lot of bad luck for him, but we can see now he's right on the back of Nathan Snaith. That was actually, sorry, is he? Yeah, he is.
He is.
And he's been, that was incredible from him. I mean, we were talking about, is that going to be able for him to catch that, as it was quite a big gap, but he's able to do that now. And as I say, just getting his head down, working to push forward as much as he can, and that's massively benefited for him as he's now in 4th. It's going to be incredibly difficult for him to catch P3, although we said it was going to be difficult to catch even P4, so we're going to have to see what happens. Especially around here, the drivers have to be on the limit in every corner, even more than any other track, due to how little corners there are. So, I mean, there's definitely opportunity for mistakes, possibility for Logan to capitalise on mistakes ahead, pick up some of those ever so needed points. But he's already had an incredible drive to get from 9th to 4th, having that bad luck at the start. But it's certainly not the only battle happening towards the front, as we see now Harry Power and Addison Smith going side by side down towards Copse. A very popular overtaking zone around here, because if you're on the inside, it's quite a nice place to just keep it on the inside, and it's not really easy to do anything about that around the outside. As I say that, and Addison Smith holds it around the outside, keeping it within the track limits, and holds the position.
Nicely done. Samuel Chilton is, of course, now in 7th place, of course, behind Ishanija. This has got 6 minutes left to go for race number 2. The gap at the front stays the same. What's the gap for 3rd place looking like as well? McAllister 3 seconds off the back of Morton Evans, and I've got to say, Morton Evans is able to hang on to this, which I'm confident he could well be. His fastest lap is an 11.3, which is only a 10th slower than that of Gabriel Norse. His previous lap time only 2/10 slower than Logan McAllister. If he's able to stay consistent for what is going to be 5 laps left to go at the line, he's on course to take his first podium of the season. As long as he doesn't make a mistake, Logan McAllister hasn't got a big enough pace differential to go and catch. They've just broken the beam again. It's a 4/10 close from McAllister. At that rate, the gap, it will come down. Maybe McAllister, once he's in slipstream range of under a second, the gap will close even more. But right now, Morton Evans looks safe, looks secure, but the pressure is going to build. It's going to be there, and Morton Evans needs to be careful not to fall victim to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, since it's his first podium of the season, potentially, that we're looking at now, it will be potentially a kind of new experience for him, you know, having that pressure on him, especially from an incredibly talented driver like Logan, knowing that he's been able to catch that gap. And since he's been able to catch that gap, it means he's strong compared to him. So we'll have to see how he, deals with that pressure and deals with catching Logan McAllister. We have 4 minutes left now, but the gap in front is massively dropping. We've got Will Clark to Gabriel is now 1.3 compared to 7/10. I'm not sure if that'll be enough to catch, but it is a lot. And as soon as he gets within that second, the gap will start to drop quicker. So it's definitely not an easy, complete drive to the line, alone win for Gabriel Norse. He will have to keep up some pace and try and manage that gap as much as he can. But yeah, I mean, I think the most interesting thing to watch is going to be Logan McAllister, whether he can get on to that final podium position. As we see Lewis Morton Evans there having a big slide, and Logan is going to love to see that because the gap has now dropped from 1.6 seconds to what is probably going to be half a second by the end of this straight. And that is potentially some of that pressure we were talking about, getting to Lewis Morton Evans there. And I think we're going to potentially see some moves starting to happen for that final podium position.
A small mistake, but potentially disastrous consequences. As you can see there, the difference in lines being taken through Brooklands corner, and Logan McAllister looking much betterly poised through that particular sequence, especially on the exit of Luffield as well. You can see the drive and the acceleration he's got towards Woodcote. Doesn't even want to wait for cops. He wants to open up the gap as soon as possible. Lewis Morton Evans could well be victim to losing his maiden podium finish here to a championship contender. Logan McAllister has been on a fight back since, of course, his spin and his issues in race number 2. Inside line through Cops corner, but Morton Evans is able to saw his way the outside. He's slightly off the track, keeps it in touch side by side as they run their way towards the sequence, of course, of Maggots and Beck. It's going to be a case of who can break later between the pair of them. Logan McAllister has the inside line, but Morton Evans, we've seen, is not scared to back down from a fight. Side by side is there. You can see McAllister forcing his way through. Morton Evans has to tuck back in, but the slipstream towards Brooklands could well be in his favour for him to retake third.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Logan is probably thinking now, stop. This is not the battle we should be having. We need to work together to not let Nathan Snaith catch up, because Logan was about 9/10 quicker a lap than Lewis Morton Evans. As Lewis Morton Evans there trying to hold it on the inside and goes for a spin, and Nathan Snaith, trying to avoid him, also takes a trip to the grass, and that is terrible for him, because I think that's Ishan Nijar now getting right towards the back of Nathan Snaith, as it just seemed like he didn't quite know what to do there. Got on the brakes a little bit too hard, the weight went to the front of the car and he looped it around. But now Logan will be very happy to see that, because he's stopped losing time, and now he can try and pull away as much as he can. Because of his pace, he's likely to be able to keep that podium position, and he's done amazingly well to go from 9th to 3rd. This is exactly what he needs for this championship, and it's what he's shown that he can do throughout the season, and he's gone and done it again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Logan McAllister, he has been just one of those drivers that no matter what round, he has been one of the front runners in terms of pace. The results maybe don't show it in terms of race victories or even second places, but McAllister is there, and he is a star of the future. Whether or not he wins that opportunity to go to the Ginetta Scholarship, whether it's going to go to Gabriel Norse or even Will Clark, all three of those youngsters have shown in their own respective ways their prowess and their sheer ability behind the wheel of a virtual race car, and hopefully that translates for them into the real life eventually. Nathan Snaith in 6th on the back of Ishan Nijar, of course, after having that spin trying to avoid Lewis Morton Evans, and you've got to feel from there because he did the right thing. It just wasn't at the right time because, unfortunately, it sent him spinning around.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big shame for them because, you know, as you say, yeah, he did do the right thing. It's just in those situations, the split-second decision, as he saw someone spinning in front of him, and then you have very little time to react, and the immediate reaction is, of course, to hit the brakes. And it's mainly in these cars that just doesn't work. So it was a shame for the both of them there, as they both had a very similar situation, both having a driver in front of them and both hitting the brakes too hard. So that was, yeah, a shame for the pair of them, but not a shame for Logan, as he is now able to pull in front, not have too much pressure behind. And is this the last lap with 0 seconds over the line? I believe it will be. But yeah, so that's great for Logan, as we say, just getting into that 3rd position. Unfortunately for him, Gabriel won it, which means that he will extend his championship lead a little bit more. But since he started, well, he didn't start, but he ended up in 9th. To get back to 3rd is exactly what he needs for the championship. You know, being 2nd in the championship, he can't afford to have those 9th place finishes. So yeah, 3rd is brilliant points for him, and of course a brilliant win for Gabriel.
It was indeed. For another time this season, Gabriel Norse ticks off a sensational victory for the 6th time this season. He did it at the first round at Alton Park. He went for 4 on the bounce. And now, of course, he has taken his 6th. Will Clark takes himself back to the podium with 2nd place. And McAllister with another champion's drive from, of course, 9th up to 2nd, down to 9th, back up to 3rd. That is a drive worthy of Logan McAllister and a driver of his skill. Of course, it was Gabriel Norse that takes P1 and, of course, the top points of the round. He extends the championship lead with it. Of course, we can confirm Lewis Morton Evans is our driver of the round. Will be getting himself a pair of 3M UK sim gloves, of course, as he performed really well. It was close to a podium. In the end, not quite enough, but fended off Logan McAllister for as long as he could. And speaking of, we'll have a chat with him. Of course, Logan McAllister, P3 in the end for you, but a bittersweet one at that, a frustrating race.
Yeah, I'm not very happy with how that one went. Will's connection, I don't know really what happened, but it just kind of spun me out. He kind of lagged back and it just hit me and I spun out. And then also I'm not very happy with how I got run off the track. But yeah, overall really good comeback, and yeah.
Understandably, some frustrations sort of boiling over potentially. I mean, looking forward to Brands Hatch, of course, where we take to in a week's time. What's the thought like for you? A vastly different circuit to the one that we've got at Silverstone National. Is it one that you're going to sort of bed well with? Can we expect once more Logan McAllister front running pace?
Yeah, hopefully. I like Brands Hatch. It's technical, so it will require more skill than this track. A lot of elevation as well, which should be quite fun. Yeah, obviously we want to pull back the championship, and hopefully we can do it there.
Well, best of luck, of course, to you for the rest of the season. Tough luck today, but you drove the best you could, and of course you got your 2nd win of the season. So a lot of positives, albeit with equally as many negatives for you. But thank you for coming in and having a chat with us once again. Congrats on the victory, congrats on the podium, and best of luck for Brands Hatch.
Thank you very much.
Working our way up the podium, we're going to take a chat with Will Clark, who we've not spoken to in a while because he's not finished on the podium in a while. But you're back, you're in 2nd place. It was another 4th for race 1. Thought we were going to continue the theme, but you've broken the curse and you're back on the podium with a P2. Talk us through sort of your pace and your evening, because it's been quite strong looking you through practice into quali, into race 1, into race 2. You've been a front running car, and in race 2 you were able to make it happen.
Well, I mean, I feel like I've had really, really good pace. the whole night, and then just internet issues plagued me a bit where I was just lagging back. I've got no idea why. I don't know what's changed, but it's a frustrating one because I know I definitely had the pace to win, but yeah, it was just unfortunate.
Yeah, of course, still searching for that maiden victory. In terms of the championship, you've outscored, you've sort of chipped away at a gap with Logan McAllister. That gap is still very, very close between yourself and him for that fight for second place in the championship. Is that the aim, or do you still think that the actual overall championship is still at play?
Well, I mean, first is sort of running away, but you know, it's never over until the end of the last round. So I'm going to try my best. It's obviously hard to judge points with Logan after he missed a round, but it's a close one. So we'll see what happens.
Coming into today, you were 9 points back, and the positions, you weren't too apart from each other. I think he might just tip you in terms of outscoring, but like you say, it's not over until it's over. Congratulations on, of course, getting yourself back on the podium, and hopefully we'll see you raring to go when we take to Brands in a week's time.
Thank you.
And to the top step of the podium, once again, for the 6th time this season, it's one Mr. Gabriel Norse, who's got a 60% win rate thus far this season. Talk us through race 2, talk us through your evening as a whole, and then talk us through sort of, I suppose, the plans for the rest of the season, because it seems that no matter where we are, you're the favourite, you're on top, and you're the one setting the benchmark.
Yeah, at the start of the race, I had a bit of coming together with Logan, which I couldn't really do much about. I was just understeering, and I tried to slow down, but it just wouldn't work. But kind of after that, I was almost left alone, which was quite nice, and I just drove to the end, which was good. For the upcoming races, I mean, it will be decent. I quite like both Brands and Alton, but kind of just got to see how it goes, because I'm in a very nice position in the championship, but yeah.
Best of luck, of course, for Brands in a week's time. Congratulations on the results today, and we'll see if the championship comes home. It's going to be tight all the way to the end, but of course, thank you for coming and having a chat with us, and fingers crossed we see you back raring to go for Brands Hatch.
Yep, thank you.
And finally, we take to our PASR driver of the round, who's going to win himself a set of 3M UK sim gloves. Lewis Morton Evans. It was close to the podium today, not quite in the end, but the pace was there, and the fact that you were able to hold off a driver like Logan McAllister for as long as you did, a lot to be proud of today at Silverstone.
Yeah, I think the race was good. I found pace in the car. It's finally clicked to it. It just sort of fell apart in the end, really. I lost pace in the end. I think nerves got to me a bit, maybe.
Is that something that you think can be maybe rectified when we take to Brands Hatch in a week's time? I mean, is it a case of just practicing more, or is it a case of maybe the unfamiliarity with being on the podium?
I think it's just need more practice, really. I managed to do my new personal best on this track in race 2, and then I just sort of seen one mistake, and I seen Logan just like edge closer in my screen, and I think it just hit where he's getting me, and it just slipped, I think.
Of course, looking forward to Brands. Is that a track that you've particularly gelled with before in the past, or is it one that you might need to put the hours in this week?
Obviously put the hours in, but I do quite like Brands Hatch. It is a fun track. Turn 1's always good for a bit of carnage, I guess, at the start of a race, so see if we can pick something up there, maybe.
And can we expect the podium by the end of the season? 4 more races?
I bloody hope so.
Well, we'll find out. We'll find out. Congratulations on being the driver of the round this week, and best of luck for when we take to Brands, and of course the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you.
Amazing stuff, Lewis Morton Evans, the 5th PASR driver of the round, and another set of 3M UK sim gloves going the way of a young driver to at the immersion. There you can see, by the way, we spoke about it just before the start of race number 2, the Pro Sim Rig Super Touring 2024 Sim Series. We've ticked off Donington Park, we've ticked off Silverstone, and a couple of weeks' time we'll take to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for 2 8-lap races. 2 weeks after that, we'll head to Brands Hatch Indy. 3 weeks after that, we'll head to Imola, Castle Combe, Croft, and Alton Park to kickstart the new year on the 7th of January. It's a fantastic championship. That uses some of the top quality mods, of course, in the world of Assetto Corsa to emulate that classic touring car feel. They are fantastic cars to drive. Some of my favorite, and trust me, I'm not really a front wheel drive man, but I enjoy driving them. They are fantastic. You will have a lot of fun. So if you're looking at that thinking you want to get yourself involved, definitely do so. If you're looking at it thinking that's going to be one to watch, definitely tune in and watch. We've got the fantastic, of course, Chris Dowes and Alex Newman on the commentary team. They did a brilliant job at Silverstone. Of course, myself and Chris through Donington, and that were, one pair, 2 fantastic races that were 18 laps long a couple of weeks ago at Donington. And of course, we've got real life races, the likes of Nicky Taylor, of course, fighting at the front, racing in Clear Cup GB, the championship leader of that. Of course, young upstarts of the likes of the Potter, of Thomas and Catherine, as they ascend in their journey through the ranks. So there's a lot of talent, a lot of intrigue on the Pro Sim Rig Super Touring 2024 Sim Series, and a lot of I don't know how to phrase this. A lot of prizes on offer, let's put it that way, that are worth some serious money. Of course, thank you to our sponsors at Pro Sim Rig and everyone involved at PASR for making it happen. Of course, Jude, when it comes to the 2024 Ginetta Junior Official eSeries, what have we seen today, and what can we expect from the final 2 rounds of the season?
I mean, today we've seen 2 absolutely brilliant races. I think this has probably been the best round to watch out of all of them so far. We somewhat expected it, with Silverstone National being the type of track that it is and the cars that we've got coming around here. But yeah, absolutely brilliant races to watch today, and unfortunate for some and greater for others, as always is with racing. We've got Brands Hatch GP up next, of course, another brilliant track. Again, quite a bit of towing, but some very, very fast corners. Opportunity for side-by-side, opportunity for carnage. But of course, brilliant track that's going to be to watch. So that will be a very good one to watch. And again, we've already seen Alton Park. Slightly different layout, but still similar sort of track, with only one corner really being different. So yeah, I think that's going to be another one to watch. I mean, they're all ones to watch really. It's the type of cars that makes the big difference. But because they're such small cars around big tracks, it means that you can go 3, 4, 5 wide if you really try. So yeah, I'm sure we're going to see some great battles towards the end, especially since the championship's not over yet. So yeah, we'll see some good battles to end up round off the season.
Yeah, it's gone by in a flash, it must be said. Time definitely has been flying while we've been having fun here for the 2024 Ginetta Junior Official eSeries. Of course, the chance for one of these drivers, our championship winner, to take to the official Ginetta scholarship and potentially win themselves a racy in 2025. But the prizes are there for second and third. There you can see 3 hours in the Ginetta simulator for our runners-up, and third gets themselves a nice upgrade to their sim rig with a 34-inch Samsung G5 gaming monitor. Driver of the round, as we saw with Lewis Morton Evans today, the 5th driver to get himself a pair of 3M UK sim gloves, and of course the driver that turns up for 100% gets themselves a PASR cap to go the way. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, as much as we'd love to, there's no more racing action to take part this week. My name has been Zach Sweeney. Jude Peters has been alongside me in the commentary box, talking you through all of the action. Tom O'Farrell has been busy behind the scenes, pushing the buttons, making the broadcast look lovely and pretty. Mick Sutton is one of the men we have to thank behind the scenes for making all of this possible. And Jordan Taylor, who once again gets a week off in that Ginetta safety car, sat in the pit lane and spent most of it watching the stream, I'm sure. Of course, we love him, really, does Jordan Taylor. Of course, in a week's time, we'll once again be heading to Brands Hatch this season. Well, we'll be heading to Brands Hatch for the first time before then heading to Alton Park once again to round off what has been a tight, a close and very competitive championship where one of these young drivers could well have a chance at a real-life race in 2025. Until then, for myself and Jude, it's goodbye for now.